So now let's kind of give you the update on what we know with Hermine. Now, right now for the 11 o'clock advisory, about 70-mile-per-hour winds. So again, just barely below what would be a Category 1 hurricane equivalent. So it's still it's in its post-tropical phase. Again, as we continue to go, though, you do need to note that we still have tropical storm warnings out stretching from eastern Long Island all the way over towards the Cape of Massachusetts. And again, those are there for a reason, folks. You want to keep that in mind. Don't go into the water. It's there for a reason. It's there for your safety. Now, we do still have some pretty intense wind gusts out there. We've got a couple. Take a look at Nantucket, 33 miles per hour sustained winds, and we're gusting up around 45. But some wind gusts have been reported around this area up around 50 to even 55 miles per hour. So again, quite strong winds. We also still have the storm surge that will be a factor along some of these areas, about 1 to 3 feet. Now, that is down from over the weekend because the storm shifted a little bit, and the wind direction is going to make a big impact. When you have that northerly wind, you don't quite get as high of storm surge values as you would say if it was an easterly wind. Here is a look at the track. Again, we still expect it to go just a little bit farther west before it finally makes its final track out to the northeast, ending up around Nova Scotia and into Canada. So again, that's going to be the thing. But before it does, it is going to be able to dump some rain. Here's a look at today. Again, areas around Plymouth, the Cape, Nantucket, even Martha's Vineyard, and say around Newport, we're looking at the chance for some showers and thunderstorms. By tonight, it begins to push a little farther inland. So now we're talking about areas like Boston, even Providence starting to pick up on some of the showers. By tomorrow, it stretches again farther north and west. Even Portland, Maine, will start to see some of those showers begin to pick up from Hermine. And then again, it moving a little bit farther west around Montauk, New York, even around New Haven, Connecticut. We're going to start to see some of those rain showers begin to pick up. And again, the storm is lingering. You notice on that track, it's not moving much. That's why these areas are going to continue to see rain for the next several days, because it's just not going to move very quickly. So again, eastern Long Island, we're also talking about Bridgeport, Connecticut, going to be dealing with some of those showers. And we've talked about Nantucket because that is the farthest east and south point, kind of close to the storm. So this is why you've got rain shower chances pretty much all day for the next 12 hours. And that wind, don't forget about the wind, because when that ground gets saturated, it only takes 30, 40, maybe even 45-mile-per-hour winds to kind of knock some of those smaller trees down. Montauk, New York, again, you've got some of those clouds building back in, but you do have some of the heavier showers that will arrive later on into the evening. Alex? Tropical storm warning stretch from Massachusetts all the way down to Delaware today, 3 days after slamming into Florida. Hermine just refuses to go down quietly. Our Anna Rodriguez takes a look at the storm, which is linked to 2 deaths in the south. Last week of summer, maybe perhaps they will get it coming up this weekend. Here is a look at the latest for tracking. This is the latest update that we had as of 11 o'clock this morning. Winds still packing around 70 miles per hour. Again, folks, that's just a couple miles per hour less than what would graduate it up to hurricane force winds. So we're close, but not going to get there just yet. It's moving northwest at about 6 miles per hour. If you recall, yesterday it was around that 10 to 12 mile per hour range. So it has slowed down considerably over the past couple of days, but it is still going to bring some impacts to areas of the northeast. Now, if we push this forward again, you'll kind of notice we do still have tropical storm warnings out stretching from eastern Long Island all the way up towards the Cape. And those are going to stay in place for a reason, because we have those threats that are there in place. One of those threats being the strong winds. Now, Montauk having about sustained winds about 15 miles per hour, gusting up to around 25 to 30 mile per hour range. Nantucket, we're seeing sustained winds about 30 to 35 miles per hour, with the wind gusts up around 45, even as high as 50 miles per hour. So again, you get those strong winds, the saturated ground, it can bring some of those smaller trees down, because as we push this forward, we will continue to see those winds stay high, because the system just isn't expected to move very much over the coming days. And that's going to keep those winds relatively strong for at least the next 2 to 3 days. Still, take a look, Nantucket, Montauk, even up around Boston and Atlantic City, you're going to have those sustained winds about 15 to 30 miles per hour, with some of the gusts even slightly higher than that as we go through Tuesday. Now, again, Hermine, the track of this still expected to push a little bit farther out to the west, getting a little bit closer to shore, and then it finally makes its way back out over open water, and Alex finally makes it back up towards Nova Scotia and other areas of. This is what everybody wants to to know, especially let's jump ahead to next weekend. Maybe next weekend will be nicer than it was this weekend in some spots. So here's a look at what we have for today. Really, it's relatively calm in a lot of spots. We're talking Chicago, Cleveland, Louisville, Atlanta, all going to be beautiful today for your Labor Day holiday. But we do have the severe threat, as Alex mentioned, stretching from portions of Minnesota down into portions of the high plains. The key thing, as Alex mentioned, is some of those areas are still going to be under the gun yet again tomorrow. And really much of southeastern Minnesota, we're also talking Wisconsin and even into Iowa. Now, here's the thing. Areas in Chicago are going to have to keep a close eye on this because you're going to notice your forecast start to change. Your temperature begins to go up as that front gets a little bit closer to you, but no rain showers just yet. We're going to have to advance a few more days before we finally start to see some of those showers begin to get a little bit closer to Chicago. May start to see them in the latter half of the day. On Wednesday, finally pushing in areas of Michigan, also starting to see, say around Saginaw, starting to see some of those showers and thunderstorms begin to push in. But notice cities like Atlanta, we're getting those temperatures back into the low 90s yet again. And it's not going to be just Atlanta. We're also going to see other areas getting those highs back into the 90s. Take a look. New York, Washington, D.C. also going to have their high temperatures into the 90s by the end of the week. And we're talking Thursday, we could potentially see at least a dozen cities across the Northeast that could end up breaking some record high temperatures. So again, we're not just talking 2 or 3 degrees above normal. Some areas we're talking as high as 15 degrees above where we would normally be this time of year. Going into Friday, we do still have showers expected for Minneapolis, also around Milwaukee and Chicago, even into Cleveland. But we are still going to remain dry across portions of the southeast. We will have more on your forecast.